Looking back gets a lot simpler when you don't try to deal with all of life all at once, but instead think of it as a series of containers and just worry about them each one at a time. We're going to look back at what's been going on in your life recently, look around at what your current reality looks like, look ahead and figure out what your focus should be in the near future, and then we're going to set you up with tools and routines and a reset process to make things keep going forward the way you want. We'll kick off Seasonal Reset Week by looking back. You may not have a season to look back on because maybe you haven't done this kind of thing before, but just pick a chunk of time that makes sense. Look back a month, 2 months, a quarter, whatever makes sense to you as we look back to get us started. And what we're going to do is we're going to either look at what you have or set up areas of life, categories. Sometimes they're called life categories, domains, areas of focus. And we're going to use those as the containers to help us situate ourselves in your life. You can absolutely do this in your own notebook, but if you would like the worksheets I've put together to guide you through this process, check the link in the description below for the worksheet for this session and all the other sessions, how to get a hold of those. Do you already have areas of life set up, things like health, family, work, and finances? Today's freebie is a way to help you get those set up or organize the ones that you have. There are no hard and fast rules about how many areas of life you should have. The guide I have has 8 slots. You may only have 4 or 5. If you include work, you may have even more than 8 because maybe you divide work into your different hats there as well. Remember, it's not a rule that we're looking to follow here. Figure out your own set of categories. Those areas are going to shift over time. Mine are much different now than when I was working full time or when I just had different situations in my life. So you're not trying to come up with categories that are going to work for all time, just that work right now. Whether or not you have goals for the past season or quarter, areas of life are just a good way to organize and look back. And if you have goals, you'll see how they kind of fit in later. I've tried different planning systems and goal setting systems that have specific categories and specific colors and lots of questions and even some scoring and rigid ways to evaluate where you are. We're going to be much more flexible, have much more of a flow, I hope. And hey, having the right color for the right area, it's really important to me. I can't tell you how much angst there was about health being yellow or something that just didn't work for me. When you're reflecting, there's not just one way to go about this. On today's worksheet, I did give you some prompts to guide you, things like wins, challenges, highlights, but some people, they like to look at one area and really dig deep and kind of do all of it at once. And some people, they like to go through and list all their wins and then list all their challenges. See which feels better for you. The point isn't about having the right categories or the same as everyone else. It's nice because then you can talk about them as a group, but it has to work for you. And so we're not going to be doing scoring. There's going to be no math involved. We just want you to have a way to notice what's been happening, notice how you feel, and it's going to help you figure out where you want to head. Looking back by area of life, it gives you that control where you can look at one at a time, or you can look at multiple at a time, or you can look at all at a time. It's up to you. Look around, seasonal time frame. Life does not follow nice, neat, traditional quarters. Vacations, school years, just general busy stretches, even the weather, they just don't mean, they just mean that 3 months in a particular time of the year isn't necessarily the best way to look ahead in your personal life. The key moving forward is going to be choosing the right time frame for you to plan for this particular time. Not for always, but just choose for now. That's the goal for this mini reset. You've set up areas of life as containers so you can focus on one part of your life at a time. Now it's time to look at your current reality and come up with the right time container for the planning that we're going to be doing. Instead of just blindly going with quarters, because that's what people do, we're going to look at what's happening in your life and decide what is the right cadence for you. For me, I found 3 months was too long. Others may find 12 weeks is good, 8 weeks is good, 6 weeks is good. You got to think about the balance between doing it more often, less often, and also those things that are happening in your life, like vacations and starts of school years and holidays. Think of your season length as a container for your reset and your priorities to sit within. And just like you need different sized containers for your leftovers different days, you need different sized containers maybe for your seasons, for your planning at different times in your life. To help with this, I've got a couple different freebies. There is a year on one page that's undated that you can use any year. And then I've got a series of different grids with different numbers of weeks on them for you to kind of try them on for size, experiment and see what would it feel like to have a 13-week season versus a 8-week season, and just see how they fit together. Now, if you like to have a dated year at a glance or some other period, I did link below also to a video of mine that has lots of links to great sites for free printables, and you can see if there's something there that might help you if you want dated. The reason I suggested the year on a glance, it's helpful as you're choosing your time container to look at the situational containers, the things that create the boundaries between the areas of your life. Take those into account when you're deciding how long to go. Could be travel, events, family things, and they may be fine being within the season, but it's sometimes hard when those things are on a border. These are the things that are on your calendar that shape your life, and so maybe they should shape your planning as well. Why do I keep talking containers? Why are containers so important? Containers are important because they create boundaries. Last stretch of time, I've been doing my daily planning on a Post-it because it keeps it very compact and gives me boundaries so I don't do too much. Same thing here with planning. For me, 13 weeks was too big of a canvas, and so I shrunk it down to 8 or 9. Sometimes when I'm doing that daily planning, having that infinite canvas of a Apple Note or a large piece of paper works well, and sometimes I need a smaller thing like a Post-it. Same with the seasons. When I was working full-time, quarters were fine. It just, they might not always have been like the traditional, January to April quarters, but I could plan for larger stretches. My life was more regular, but now it's not. So now the shorter time frames work for me. Just don't go with what's, out there. Figure out what's going to work for you. Look ahead. Seasonal focus. If everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. The real key is not chasing everything all at once. It's narrowing your focus and picking what to work on right now. Now that you've got your areas of life and your time periods chosen, the question is, what matters most right now? This step is about narrowing your focus so that your season doesn't get too crowded. One way to think of it is as a 1, 2, 3 priority, and having one main area, one main focus, and then a couple sub areas, sub focuses, and then maybe 3 kind of things that are still in the forefront but don't rise to the same level. I'm not saying you should always have that structure. I'm saying it's one way to consider. And some seasons, it's just going to be one big thing if you're launching a project or if there's a health concern. But I want you to think about that all of the things that you plan for your season don't necessarily carry the same weight. And it's just a framework that might help you out. Thinking about your capacity and your attention for the season is going to really help you make some good decisions. And this is where I know I usually get stuck if I'm trying to follow a system. And I'm really waffling here because what are we talking about? Are we talking about goals? Are we talking about projects? Are we talking about areas? Are we talking about themes? Are we talking about focuses? Are we talking about priorities? Well, I don't know what to tell you. It's what works for you. And so sometimes it's going to be a big project. Do you want to call it a goal? Well, I'll let you read stuff on Smart and Smarter Goals. But sometimes you're going to have the one big thing, but you still have habits you want to work on. So then maybe it's a couple big habits and a couple little tiny, things in your routine type habits. Maybe it's all projects, big project, little project, little project. It's whatever is happening in your life. Don't try to fit it into a rigid system. I have spent way too many hours. Now, is this a goal? Is this really a goal, or is it just a project? Could it be a goal? Well, if I rewrite it like this, then it's goal. But if I write it like this, it's a project. There's not a right way. I've been having conversations with people about being rule followers, and it's hard to be a rule follower and not know what the rules are. But you'll be better for it. The whole point is really this season, what needs your attention? That's what we're trying to get at. And it might be habits, and it might be a giant project, or it might be all of the above. The idea is to jot down a whole bunch of ideas and possibilities and just see what rises up to the top. As you're writing, I think some brainstorming on this is probably a good idea to do first. But as you're doing it, just think about, is there a theme that's running through? Maybe you want to theme your season. Maybe everything you're talking about has to do with stability, or maybe everything you're writing about seems to do with health. Or maybe it's everything you're writing about is one or another aspect of your home. So maybe that's a theme for the season. Or maybe it's a little bit of home and a little bit of health and a little bit of work. There's not a right way. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is intention. And for you to intentionally be filling this season with what's important to you, and being okay with leaving some of those other containers on the shelf this particular season. Daily tools and routines. Big plans only matter if you live them out day to day. And we're going to be looking at some simple tools to help you take action and sustain that seasonal momentum. You've chosen what matters most for the season, and now it's time to bring it down to earth and pick some simple tools and routines that are going to help you actually work through things each day. At its simplest level, there's 4 things to decide. How will you capture ideas and tasks? How will you list those tasks? House those tasks? How will you manage your calendar? And how will you plan your day? These are the basic elements of a simple personal productivity system, and I've ended up kind of saying choose 4 things as the shortcut. It's the thumbnail for the overview of the season of the series where I talk about all of these elements. You can check out the description below if you haven't come across that before, and I go into more details. I have detailed videos on each of the parts. There's one more to go, but most of them are there. Those 4 elements, those 4 tools, sometimes you'll have more than one in each section. Those 4 are the things that give structure to your day. You don't need fancy tools, but you just need to decide where you're going to do those things consistently. Those 4 tools give you structure for your days, but you also probably could use some routines or habit stacks to help you have the flow to your days. They don't have to be complicated. You don't need all of them, but think about if a morning routine, a daily startup or a workday startup, maybe a midday. I always had one when I came home from school when I was working as a teacher, but now it's a midday, like lunchtime kind of check-in. And then a shutdown of the workday or shutdown of the day, and then evening, last thing at night kind of routine. They don't need to be long or complicated. They could be just one thing, or it could be a few things, but little habits or little habit stacks to help you knock out the little stuff, feel the way you want to feel. There's lots of different things that can go into them. They're the things that bring stability to your life. The point isn't to build a complicated system or to adopt somebody else's system. The point is to build your own minimum viable system. Start with tools that help you get your life organized and getting things done. Get simple routines that help you move through the day the way you want to move through the day. Weekly reset practice. It's easy to start strong and have momentum when you're first getting started. The real question is, how are you going to maintain that when real life kicks in? Daily tools and routines are what keeps things moving day to day, but without some kind of a weekly practice, there tends to be drift or decay over time. Weekly is the layer that ties everything back together. Kind of think about filling the cup back up. It's where you step back, check in, and realign before the next week. And realign doesn't mean blindly put yourself back on a track that isn't working for you anymore. It means stopping and being intentional and deciding, is what I planned at the beginning of the season still my priority, or do things need to shift? Shift is okay. Drift, no. Shift, yes. So like I said, each week is kind of a mini version of this, right? We're going to look back at what's been happening for the past week. We're going to look around at your life in between, and then we're going to look ahead at the week ahead and plan accordingly. It's the same sequence, it's just at a smaller scale. In practice, a weekly reset will include several things like looking over your areas of life and your seasonal focus that you set, looking at your calendar, clearing up loose ends and corralling tasks, celebrating wins, looking back at challenges. The exact shape doesn't matter. What matters is it's regular and realistic. Even 20 minutes a week, that can help just set yourself up for continued momentum or reinvigoration if you need it. I wanted this one to be kind of a real starter version. If you're just starting to dip your toe in and you've never done any kind of reset, I didn't want anything jargony. I wanted it pretty basic. The starter version, it's also going to be good for if you just need something quick one week, just grab it and you don't have to worry about, all the parts. A weekly reset is not about perfection. It is a chance for a fresh start every 7 days. Done consistently, it's what takes that abstract reflection kind of things and turns it into progress. That is a wrap on Seasonal Reset Week. My hope is that you won't just reset now, but you'll have seen that you get the clarity and the confidence you need by going through the process, and you'll come back and do it whenever you need a fresh start, whenever life gets a little messy.